Hey everybody, welcome to Geeksvana Live, our very first show here. Hi to everybody in the chat, the early joiners. I really appreciate you coming to see us. Matt Gorn, Jason Burton, Herman, Phantom101, hello. And hi Ash from Droning On as well. So hey everyone, those who don't know, my name is Sean. This is Geeksvana. This is our new stream, live stream. Now, we're not sure yet exactly how often this is going to be going out, but it's certainly going to be going out every fortnight on a Tuesday evening minimum. We'll also be bringing out live streams as and when there's any breaking news to bring you all. In tonight's show, we're going to be talking about the Mi-24 military helicopter story with the near miss, or technically hit, or did it happen at all? Fact or fake? We're going to be bringing you an update on the Vernon Kerswell situation with the micro drone 4.0. And in fact, I think I see Vernon in the chat tonight. Welcome, Vernon. Following that, we're going to be bringing an update on the EASA regulations for the UK. We're going to be discussing that a bit with anybody who is still here and wants to chat with me about that. And we'll be topping the evening off talking about some good old DJI drone leaks. Obviously, you've seen the video on my channel and other people's channels, other people's live streams with this little drone, and just a chance to have a little chat with anyone that's interested. So that's the running order. Now, as I say, that this is our first stream. In the future, we're going to be having co-hosts, guest co-hosts and permanent co-hosts. The main chap will be a young man called Brody Hugar, who you may see in the chat this evening. Now, in the future ones, when I start at 10 p.m. in the UK, that's actually going to be an hour earlier at 5 p.m. in the US. Our clocks change at the end of the month. So, right, let's get on with the first story, shall we? Hope everybody's having a good evening. Would help if I changed my own chat to live chat. That's just a reminder to everybody that's in the chat. If you want to move across from top chat to live chat to make sure you get everything. So first up, we have the Mi-24 military helicopter, Russian helicopter, which allegedly hit a drone. Now, this has been doing the rounds. I'm sure many people in the chat have already seen this particular footage, where the helicopter comes across at fairly low angle. This is alleged to be some kind of testing ground, whether it's Ukraine, Russia, I'm not sure. We also haven't been able to validate the actual original source of this. I know that Ash from Droning On did an excellent video on this himself. What do people in the chat think? Do you think this is fact or fake? In my personal opinion, it feels a little bit Call of Duty. And if a helicopter that size came anywhere near any kind of prosumer drone, the prosumer drone wouldn't exist after coming into any kind of contact that might have moved the gimbal like that. But I'm not sure what everybody else thinks. Whilst you're having a think about that, let's have a look at a clip from Ash's video, which he's very kindly allowed us to share with some of his thoughts.
So, as usual, the press and media are stating this as fact, as if it's an incident that definitely occurred without any question, and they're more than happy to smite drones as expected. Now, the first thing we look to when we see an incident like this is the source of it, and yet these articles don't quote one. They just suggest social media. That, for us, is not good enough, and in fact, if you don't have a source, it's very hard to prove anything as credible. Some of the articles even suggest that the helicopter had to take evasive action to avoid the drone, but it's quite clear that that's not the case.
There's our first technical glitch of the evening, coming back from that a bit late. So thank you very much, Ash, for allowing us to share that particular clip. I see Mike Roche there saying no prop wash on the water. And Mike Drennan, hi Mike, also saying how does it handle the prop wash itself, the drone? It is a nice looking heli, Sean, Mr. Crowley, I do agree with that. But I have to say, for me, I wonder whether it's particularly faked or not. One thing both myself and Ash noticed is that the footage itself, you can only really find it in the maximum of 480p, which is very, very low grade. And I just can't see it myself being a legitimate piece of footage. But as usual, I remain to be wrong. I'm still the man that thought the Mavic Mini was fake when those photos first came out. But there we go. Okay, moving on to our next story, and this is the Microdrone 4.0 update. Now, the original interview, which I ran on my channel, was specifically aimed at some of the backers of the Microdrone 4.0 crowdfunder, and it was attempting to get some of the answers that people were looking for. That particular interview went very well. Vernon's in the chat tonight. I thank him for joining me for that and for the follow-up. But there were still some questions left over. So we have revisited yesterday with Vernon, and we have a few more updates to provide people. So I'm going to run through some of the clips from the follow-up interview, and then if anybody, particularly backers in the chat, have anything that they'd like to add or ask, then we can discuss it from each clip. Let's jump into the first one. Once the factory is operational, are they ready to start production of the drone?
So pretty much so. At the moment, we've made like 300 units. That was what we did up to Chinese New Year when it closed. And what we want to do is scale up, and quite rapidly. So there's still some implementation to make. So I made a whole bunch of recommendations to like tweak the product a little bit. For various things like shortening, cutting the motor wires to the right length, and assembling it in the right way, and doing that. So yes. I'd like to get that done first. Get that approved. I'll go back out to China to the factory and see that batch. We'll probably make another 300 or something like that, and then test them, and then make sure everything is done according to what I want it to be done. And then because I don't want to rush things. Some crowdfunding campaigns rush the production stage, and then they find that there's loads of glitches and problems in their hardware. And once you make hardware, it's set in stone. It's not, you can't just revise that or
yes, indeed.
Back to the factory. So we've got to get that done. So I'd like to do it a bit slower than what I would like to have done. But then once we've got the product really good and operating really nicely, then we'll scale up very quickly, because they're really good at that actually. Once the factories are in production, they're very, very good at
absolutely
scaling.
Yes, yeah. Okay, so that was the first clip from the interview, which again confirms what's going to be happening in terms of once the factories reopen in China. Obviously, there's a certain amount of resettlement. You've got to get those people back to the cities where these people live and work. Live long-term with their families and live short-term to work can be very different in China as a culture. One thing I picked up from there, my own input between these clips is just going to be that. It's my personal opinion with my news hat slightly off. My personal opinion on that particular clip was that, again, when the factory opens, the drones aren't 100% ready to go back to production yet. So that's going to be interesting to see what happens there. John of Drones, thank you very much for your $2 super sticker. The little embarrassed pair there, I really appreciate that. Lawrence Novice Quads, thank you for the $5 keep it up super sticker. I really appreciate it. All of your support is wonderful. Everyone's support so far with this channel has been incredible, and I really do appreciate it. Okay, moving on with the second clip. In your original marketing video, the camera is obviously clearly marked as a 12 megapixel Sony sensor. Yet your own claims in previous videos is that you were always intending on using the 5 megapixel camera. When did this actually change? So when did it change from 12 to 5? So
the original camera, when we launched in Indiegogo, all of the test footage and all of the samples and pre-production prototypes and the minimum viable products we developed up to the launch, they'd all used the 5 megapixel camera. So what we had on day one was what the drone is now, right? So it was like, this is what we've got, guys. This is what we can do. This is the current specifications. The 5 megapixels was actually listed on the campaign page very clearly. So some people said, oh, 5 megapixels was never featured on the actual campaign page, but it actually was. It was actually listed on the specification. Okay. But then, and then a few weeks before launch, so we put out a few early sort of releases of the campaign. So we showcased it at CES, we showcased it at a few other events, and we spoke to a lot of backers. We showed the product to people, and we said, hey, what do you think of this? Do you like it? And do you have any suggestions of what we might be able to do? Either as a stretch goal or as an upgrade, or anything we can do to be on this. What we've got. And one of the suggestions, I mean, we had many suggestions. So this was lots of little ideas we had. One of them was a 12 megapixel sensor, so improving it, upgrading it to a 12 megapixel. So we put that in the campaign, in the video, and I wish I hadn't now, because people now say that it was downgraded from 12 megapixels to 5, but actually it was all along it's 5 megapixels.
So you maintain that it was 5 megapixel all along. The 12 megapixel was considered at one stage, but then disregarded.
So after a few months, once we'd gone on, as the campaign progressed, we did work to try this 12 megapixel sensor, and then we realised the footage wasn't very good, and it wasn't any better.
Why didn't you change the video?
So we could have done, but we've got a lot of views and a lot of SEO for that video, and it's been embedded in a lot of articles.
But you could change the video on the campaign page. You've also used that video at CES 2020. I mean, these aren't things anything to do with SEO. It's a simple change. Do you not see that still having a 12 megapixel camera on the video, especially if it was never actually intended to be used, is misleading?
Well, I mean, we never went out to mislead anybody about that. It was just a case of.
Do you not accept that standing at CES in front of a video playing saying 12 megapixel is misleading?
So actually, all of our.
No, sorry. Could you just do you accept that? Do you accept that the fact that you're still using a video that states 12 megapixels in situations such as CES? Where of course you've invested so much money to be there, etc. It's a simple change of a video to show 5 megapixel, and the fact that it's still at the head of the campaign page now. Do you not accept?
No, you're right.
It's misleading.
As soon as someone pointed that out, we've taken action to change that. So next time we see that video at any event, it's going to be the adjusted one. It's not a big deal.
Which is fine. But why in 2020, when the camera is already an issue, are you appearing at a major business show showing the 12 megapixel camera in the video?
I mean, good question, and it was just a case of that was taken directly from the campaign video, and we hadn't updated it, so that was just
Okay, so you accept that is a misleading video which you were playing out at CES, on the floor at CES?
I don't think anyone was misled by it. No.
Okay, if I'm walking around the floor and I see a video playing, and that video attracts me across to that kiosk to inquire about that drone, and I make a little note of it so I know I'm going to buy that wonderful looking little drone when it comes out in the retail stores, and I see a video saying 12 megapixels, I will expect that drone to have 12 megapixel camera. So therefore, I will personally feel misled. And that is where a lot of these backers are coming from. That the 12 megapixel is something that they did latch onto. It is your promotional video. It's the official promotional video for the IGG campaign. And it has misled people. It has misled them into believing that there will be a 12 megapixel camera.
Sorry, I wouldn't say to say we deliberately went out to mislead people is not correct. Okay, we didn't mislead. We didn't set out to mislead anybody. But you're right. It is old information, and we need to get it updated. So as soon as someone
my issue with that statement. If I could just 1 second. If my issue with that particular statement is that I would accept that if this was before CES, because before CES, people were complaining that the 12 megapixel was still appearing in your videos. You had lots of correspondence from backers saying, why is it still on the campaign page? Why are you still putting a video out with 12 megapixels? You then appeared at a professional business show with it in the video. That's not something that's, we need to change that. That does, unfortunately, that starts to get into the realms of deliberately misleading someone. If it's been reported to you and you're aware that it's an error.
My marketing guy, he prepared that video. He put it on the memory stick, said, "Hey Vernon, here's the video. Plug into TV, and you're good to go." Right. So when I plugged into TV, I could not just suddenly change that when I was at CES. Okay, so don't blame me for.
But if you are the head of the company, are you not?
Well, I'm the founder. Yeah, obviously I'm.
Are you the managing director of Extreme Flyers?
For sure, yeah, you know that.
Therefore, as the managing director of the company, the buck has to stop with you. If you saw that footage was incorrect, you shouldn't have played it. You should have rather have had a blank screen than have misleading information up there, surely.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry if anyone got misled. Actually, I don't know anyone has been misled. All of our trade buyers who saw that video know the spec sheet, right? We emailed the spec sheet after the show. It says 5 megapixel on the sensor, including all of the additional changes we've made, including the weight, the size, the flight time, the range, the hovering, all the functions, all the specs. They are on the spec sheet which we send to our all of our inquiries. So that little whoops-a-daisy is not a big issue, and I apologise if anyone was offended by that, or upset by that, or anyone who's felt misled. Nobody's placed any orders since then because the ordering stopped.
But it's still the issue. I think part of the issue is, and this is like a more general issue. Okay, I understand what you're saying about the 12 megapixel issue. I do understand, but the wider issue is that when people are, in their opinion, informing you of issues, and you're not reacting, you're not taking the video down, you're not editing it before you go to CES. We're not talking about going to some Bristol tech show or something. We're talking about CES. So that then starts to put a level of mistrust in there. And that's the problem, is that people say, why is he still putting this video out? And of course, there are many people who still maintain that the 12 megapixel was originally on the page. And the issue, because you're not updating the video, is you give that voice a wider audience, because it still says today 12 megapixel on your launch page.
Yeah, it's very common for Kickstarter campaigns to have old information which is uneditable, right? Granted, I can edit that video, but I would have to do everything I would have to redo the whole assets, all of the things which have been set, like all of the product photos. We've changed the structure now, so someone's going to say, "Oh, look, you're still showing the old structure, and why did you lying?" All that, all these nonsense things which are actually old information. People know the facts, right? No one was misled by the structure at CES. No one was misled by the megapixel at CES, and I apologize if anybody was, confused by it.
Okay, sorry for that particular clip. Was a little bit longer than others, but to me, I looked at that particular clip and I couldn't really find a particular place to cut it because it was a flowing conversation. I wanted to attempt to get Vernon to answer the question. I have to say, Vernon, I thank you for coming on, and I thank you for showing us that you're at least willing to meet with me twice and answer questions. However, I don't think calling something as major as the camera being different to the campaign video on your own page as an oopsie daisy and not a big issue. To me, that is going to alienate an awful lot of people, quite rightly, frankly. And it isn't something which I think went down very well. Frankly, the video that is out there promoting the people to buy this drone, the entire reason people are actually placing money with you, it was based on a 12 megapixel camera, and that comes through time and time again. Just very quickly on the super chats, Mike Roche, thank you so much for the $9.99, the $10 super chat. I say good old show chap. I think that might be a reference to my accent. And Roho Droner, Robert, the $20 super chat. Thank you very, very much. Mike Drennan, the $10, new to your content, but cheers to your integrity. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate the support, and I really appreciate everybody coming out tonight, whether you are one of our regular guys or whether you're actually one of the backers popping in to see what's happening here. Okay, next clip. Here we go. When are you expecting to post more footage from the drone?
Good question. We're currently undertaking a few adjustments. So as soon as those are done, then we'll post some footage, new footage.
Do you know a deadline for that? Within the next couple of weeks, do you expect, or?
It's hard to say because we're waiting for more samples. Once those samples have been sent to us, then we'll.
Okay. So the production phase at the moment is obviously wait for factory to open, wait for the refinements you've made to be tooled, and then the next production run to be produced, the 300 as you're saying, and then check how they are basically. Okay.
I've got some news about some of the improvements we are working on, and so I've been flying the drone with perfectly balanced propellers, so manually balanced propellers, and the results are much better. So that's something we've been working on, and we've been making color corrections, and that's
if you
done.
if you have improvements, are you not willing to post those improvements?
Well, I'm happy to do that, yeah, for sure. But the thing is, I want to make sure that the final one is actually getting, that's the one we're showing rather than.
So you are confirming that you will post the improvements that you've made recently?
Yeah, for sure, absolutely.
Okay, that's fantastic. People will be very positive about that.
Bouncy, because all these backers help fund this project and actually are part of this. So it's only fair that we show exactly how the result is, how it's coming out, and how it is now. So I want to show them.
So you would expect to be able to post that within the next few days then, if it's something that you've already carried out.
I'm hesitating because I'm not sure of our timeline because I'm waiting for the samples. But maybe in a couple.
But you said you've just made flights with the improved props with a much better response. Therefore, you must have test footage of that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, the thing is, I'm not sure whether it's good to post that footage.
Right.
I'd rather wait for the final one.
If it's an improvement, though, if it has improved the judder, etc., I think it could help you.
Do you think? Okay, yeah, I'm happy to do that.
Okay, excellent. Okay, that was the next clip from Vernon. Now, we actually have had 2 clips, raw footage sent through from Vernon, which we will be playing one of them later. Unfortunately, we won't be able to play the second one as we don't have authority to show that, which was actually footage taken today, unfortunately. Okay, here comes the next clip. The drone footage in the promo video, which is marked as from the Microdrone 4.0, was that actually from the Microdrone 4.0 as it stood, or was that aspirational footage? Was that footage to say this is how we want it to look?
This was exact footage. So this was all our footage we shot on the campaign page. That was raw footage from the drone. So that's actual footage. I mean, it's the best of the best. I mean, we shot a lot of footage, but all of that stuff was
indeed. Yeah, you're going to, of course, yes. The same as we all do with our drone videos. We don't put the bit in where we nearly crash into a tree or something. Yeah, no, I completely understand that. How do you explain the huge quality changes then between that promo video and the footage that was posted? Yeah,
so it's not that difficult actually. All of the propellers are perfectly balanced, so that's it's great. The camera is perfectly working. It's as you see it, that camera is exactly the same as the camera we have now. There's nothing changed. That the prototypes we've had from in the interim period between development and launching, all of those prototypes, we've developed and built for over a long time. So we had lots of prototypes which we'd built, and those were finely tuned. The gearing system that was perfectly. All the tolerances were perfectly done. So when it's flying, it was just hovering nicely. The flight chip that was using the optical flow and the altitude hold, and the gimbal was working perfectly and shooting really good smooth video. And yeah, it was that's the best footage we got. So that's what that was the whole point of this.
But why is there such a distinct difference if you play the promo video footage and your update footage? They don't even look like they're from the same camera.
Right, yeah. I mean, there's a big difference because one is using the production parts, and one is using the refined, the best refined prototypes. So when we create the minimum viable product, that's actually, we spend a lot of time perfecting that product and a lot of time going out to shoot it. We went to amazing locations to shoot that footage. Whereas
yes, no, indeed, it was a very good video.
That quick test we shot was just literally just down the road on in a rough empty park.
Okay, the location shouldn't really change the footage. So is what you're saying then that the original prototype versions are better than the production drones, because the original prototype version is a fantasy list, as it were, of what you'd like the drone to be, and then the production drone is what is actually practical to be built?
No, actually, no. We wanted to validate everything before launch. So all of the key features and all of the key hardware had to be finished before we launched. So
right.
So the flight board was.
So the prototypes weren't production ready then.
Yeah, they were absolutely. Yeah, we were ready to go.
You just said that everything had to be, the hardware had to be proved ready for production. That means they're not ready for production.
So it depends. Like the interpretation of what's ready for production is what's our question here. So what we had before launch was a finished, working, minimal viable product ready to take into the next stage. So after the campaign finished, we immediately started production, which was the next step, the tooling. So we started the tooling, and that was the first when we wrote the check for the tooling, and then that's gone ahead. So what we had before was all of the prototypes we'd built. So we'd finished the development of the flight board. So a really smart flight board, which combined altitude hold sensor, the barometric pressure sensor for the altitude, the optical flow for the positional hold. So that was finished. We used a tiny little endoscope camera to create optical flow, and that worked perfectly. Everything was perfect on that, really working. We then we also had the battery, the power management. That was done. We had selected the propeller, the gear, and the flight train, and we had the gimbal, we had the camera, we had all of that done before launch. So we could we had enough confidence to be able to say, okay, we've got everything now. We can see how it works. This is the best footage we can get out of it. A lot of people still say that footage wasn't very good. Ash said that it looked all washed out and looked poor quality. But I actually thought it was pretty good. I thought, we shot this with a 5 megapixel sensor, 1080p. I thought it looks pretty good, and enough people thought it was as well. So everybody backed the campaign, and it was a big success. So
okay. In your promotional video at about 3 minutes 16 seconds, you stated that with development complete and prototypes extensively tested, with your support, we're now ready to start production. That flies directly in what you've just told me.
Not at all, no. Can you clarify?
Well, the statement I've just read out, with development complete and prototypes extensively tested, with your support, we're now ready to start production. That means, as with IGG campaign should be, that the product is ready. It is ready to go into production once it has its funding. However, what you're describing is there is a whole pre-production process.
We started in the prototype stage on Indiegogo. We didn't start in the production stage.
Yes, but in your video, it's you stood there talking with development complete and prototypes extensively tested. With
Yeah.
your support, we are now ready to start production. That wasn't correct.
Yes, it was. Why not?
Because that drone, as you've said, you then had to go away and prove the hardware points and actually prepare the drone for production, to take it from prototype to production.
No, we launched. We proved it before launch.
Yes, but in your video, you state that you were ready to start production, and you weren't.
Well, what we did after the campaign finished is the next step. We started the production, the tooling,
Yes.
but then after that, we had to retool a second time.
I understand
And
that.
then the
But
delay.
you've just explained to me on camera the steps that needed to go when I asked about the prototype drones becoming the final drone. But at the point that this video was put out and people were putting their money down, you stated that development is complete. Prototypes have been extensively tested, and with your support, we're now ready to start production.
Yeah.
That should mean no retooling should be necessary. That should mean the drone, that statement means this drone is ready to be produced once we hit our target.
So would that be correct if we delivered in June?
Well, if you had delivered to the point of the original promise of the campaign, yes.
Yeah, and that was our schedule. That was our plan, but it changed.
Yes, but okay.
No, this is an important
Very
point.
succinctly.
No, excuse me.
When you state with development complete and prototypes extensively tested, if you were at that process, your mold should be ready.
Sorry, can I make a point? There's some people out there, a very, very small number, who want to rewrite the history of the campaign and ignore everything that's gone on since January.
I'm only taking direct quotes from your video. I'm not quoting anybody else, so please don't do so yourself.
And that's fine. Like you can take that. Yeah, you can take that quote, which was made
directly from you.
Yeah, directly from me before we launched, right? And then you can look at the situation now, where we've had a big delay with the tooling, delay with testing, delayed with production, and delayed with now the coronavirus. You can take the situation now, and then you can say, "Oh yeah, you weren't ready back then. Yeah, you were." But if we use that original tooling, this is the point. This is the most important point. If we'd taken that original tooling and gone ahead, which we were perfectly able to do, then we would have delivered in June. But that problem, there would have been a bunch of problems with the drone at that point.
Which means the prototypes weren't extensively tested and the development wasn't complete.
Yeah, but they were. But the thing is, when you go from a prototype to mass production, some things can go wrong, right? Some things happen, right?
Yes.
So what we found very carefully, like once we built units using the tooling, we very quickly found out once we were able to test like hours and hours and hours out and crash lots of drones, and use them for long periods of time, which you can't just do with prototypes. Found like things like the little ribbon wire, they would start to shear after like hours and hours and hours of constant use. And
why would that not show in the prototype tests?
Because each prototype is really difficult to make and really expensive, and you can't just use it for the same level of
Okay. Would you accept that you were wrong to state that you were now ready to start production in the promotion video? That is what you stated. You said we are now ready to start production.
Yeah, I mean, in retrospect, it's a bit embarrassing. I for sure say that, accept that, but I want to say that we are over that now, and we are over all of the issues which we had.
The backers who are unhappy with this aren't over that, because they are people who were sold on a video with a 12 megapixel camera and a product that was ready to start production.
Yeah, and I can understand the frustration and the anger and the disappointment of the delay of that, and I apologise. That's
okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate you answering that. That's very good of you. Yes, finally answering it in any case. A couple of comments in the chat. Val, thank you very much for the $5 super chat with the super sticker drop in the mic. I really appreciate it. There was one up here, and excuse me. Drone flyer, propellers perfectly balanced, high frequency vibrations. What he is saying is that they spent a fortune on expensive prototypes, but cannot replicate them in production models. That I have to tend personally. I really feel that's where my personal opinion was coming down on it. That they had this drone which allegedly flew very very well as a prototype, and making that prototype into something that will work in production and also in that price point has proven impossible so far. I say impossible so far from the point of view that we haven't got it. Now, Vernon, if you're still in the chat, we have had quite a few people requesting whether or not we can see the prototype. Are you willing to make your next update to include the prototype? You can come back to me on that. Just to break up the interview clips a little bit, there's been a lot of call for the raw footage to be released from the promo video and also from the recent test video, which was put up on the campaign page. Now, we have received what I'm being told is the raw promo footage, and indeed it does seem that way. Certainly a clip from the promo, which I'm about to play out. We also received one other clip, which Vernon very kindly recorded today, although we don't have permission to play that out, so I really can't comment on it at all. And we have not had the test raw footage, which was promised. Here is the footage. Now, this will be made available to anybody who wants it after the live stream's gone out. The interview will go out probably tomorrow, and then we will be able to offer anybody this as a download. Sadly, not today's footage, as I was saying. So this is the raw footage taken for the promo video. So there is that one. Okay. Next clip. Another hot topic, as we're getting through some good hot topics at the moment, which is fantastic. Raw footage. Will you release the raw footage from the promo video and the subsequent tests so that backers can assess progress and can assess the footage themselves?
Well, I mean, I kind of like don't really want to release sort of like old videos and sort of like unedited. Or sort of like,
I mean, you can release edited raw footage still. You can still show raw footage in certain clips. So you can release 30-second clips, which are still the raw footage, which allow people to view the progress themselves. There is a growing call for the raw footage, especially since the recent test that you put up, of course. And that's where people start to say, okay, well, let's have a look at the raw footage.
Yeah. It's a good question, and actually, it's a good point, and why can't we just get all the footage? I think the way I look at it is, when we went out and shot the drone, and when we go out and shoot footage with the drone, we want to show the best it can be. We don't want to show the worst footage or some things that don't look good, or like when you crash the drone and it goes spiraling down, or when it gets blown about.
I don't think anybody wants that kind of footage. I think what they would like to see is the raw footage of the tests shown. So, for instance, the stuff from the promo video and the recent test, just those clips in their raw form.
I'd be happy to send like the actual raw footage of those clips for sure. But the thing is, the reason I say don't. I wouldn't want to show all of the least good footage is because when I spoke to Rory from the BBC, he said I was naive to release that test footage. He said you shouldn't have released that footage because it didn't show it in its best.
I agree with that.
And that footage was taken by Ash from Droning On, and he slammed the drone. That could have been catastrophic for the project if I hadn't of just focused on delivering. Some people would have been like, oh, I'm going to give up. No, I can't take this criticism. Okay. But we've got to carry on and deliver this and make it the best it can be.
Sorry, will you release the raw footage?
Yeah.
Okay. So if I fire you across an email address, you wouldn't mind sending them over to me? Fantastic.
Sure. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, and as I say, Vernon did very kindly send me the clip, which I've just played out of the promo itself. In fact, I can play that again, just so whilst we're talking. And this is the raw footage from there. However, the raw footage from the test has not been forthcoming. yeah, I don't know what to tell you there. There has to be a reason why Vernon doesn't want me playing that, but does want me playing this particular video, and also why he doesn't want me playing the footage which he sent me from today's flight. I can only allow people to leave their own assumptions on there. Now, there is one issue which I want to cover, and we're going to come back to the interviewing in just a moment, the interview clips, but I want to break this up a little bit for the audience as well. I have an issue from my research which has been causing me a little bit of concern today, and Vernon knows all about this particular issue. And this issue is his online presence and the legality of that online presence. For those of you who don't know, Extreme Flyers is not the limited company. Extreme Toys Limited is actually the limited company. Now, under Companies House regulations, all UK limited companies must disclose that they're a UK limited company, their registration number, head office address, that type of thing, on their websites, headed paper, etc. Now, this page, which I just had up there then, shows you all of these links at the bottom here: about us, tech specs, tutorials, delivery information. Those pages are down. If you try to find the address, any of the details for this company, it doesn't show. I discussed this at great detail with Vernon today over Messenger. He informed me that Companies House have made contact him regarding a complaint made to them on this, that he is rectifying it on Thursday. So hopefully the backers will have his confirmed limited company details to do with what they need to from Thursday onwards. Certainly, I'm looking at the Wayback Machines, etc., and it appears the pages have been down for some considerable time. Now, my problem with this isn't the fact that the legal information isn't on the website, because that can happen. I understand that there was a hack on it. It just so happened to hack all the pages where this information would be, but okay. My issue with it is that it is another issue that hasn't been corrected that Vernon was aware of. And anybody out there, we are a fairly bright, intelligent community, the droning community. We're all capable of playing with our drones and tweaking them, etc. And I think most of us have, or a lot of us have, decent experience with building websites and how HTML works, etc. It is not complicated to put a simple holding page up for those links to go to say our pages are down, we're working on it, but here's our legal information anyway. That, to me, as I was explaining to Vernon, starts to create something of what I see as a snowball effect. You start putting together that they're not changing videos, that they're not giving the raw footage to the test flights as promised, and things like this. The actual UK law isn't being followed with their online presence, and that is not something which I'm particularly happy about, because you can let one thing off, another thing off. Okay, this guy's busy, whatever. Not every company is as organised as they should be. But when you start getting that many symptoms, you have to worry about what's happening behind the scenes at a company. Now, we will move on with our next clip. In recent days, we've had a lot of communication from backers who are concerned over the shipping of the drone. The fact that it's being shipped from Hong Kong is, of course, going to lead to a higher cost in terms of taxation.
What I'd like to say is that it's pretty standard to ship from Hong Kong for most campaigners. To ship from one point of
Yes.
to worldwide customers. We made that clear during the campaign. When we had questions saying like, "Hey, where is this going to be shipped from?" We explained where it's going to be shipped from, and we did say it's going to be shipped from Hong Kong.
Did you explain that there would be taxation costs related to the shipping? Because, for instance, I could buy something from DJI in China, but the retail price I buy something for is the retail price I pay. I would not expect there to be a bill attached to the box when it arrives.
Well, if you were to buy from DJI in the UK, you'd be buying from their UK store, and that would include VAT, and
Yes.
It would be shipped from their UK warehouse.
Yes, but you see, but what I'm saying is, as a purchaser of a product in the UK, I should expect to pay the price that I'm paying. That's a very standard legal definition. did you place in the terms and conditions or on the campaign page? Yes, you explained that it would all be shipped from one spot, which of course is very, very standard with IGG or any crowdfunding campaigns. But
Yeah.
did you explain at any point that there's going to be an extra cost burden on the final backer?
Well, we're not liable for collecting VAT or duties. We don't do that. But what I would say,
You're aware that there will be a taxation cost. So when you place
possibly,
when you decide where you're shipping from, you're aware that the taxation cost will ship from you to the end user.
It depends on the country where it's being shipped to. For example, in America, there is a very high threshold before any taxes or duties are due. So backers in America will probably have zero duties. Possibly Canada, possibly Australia. Some countries like Germany, I know that they're very strict on packages that get shipped from outside Europe. They may or may not need to pay duties. I know some countries are less strict than others. Like for example, UK and France. I've ordered stuff from overseas and not have to pay any duty, and sometimes
Yes.
I have had to. So I think it's it's not a backers will need to check the the laws in their local country to find out what that rate is. I know for UK
Did you place that disclaimer in the original campaign when you were explaining that the item would be shipped from overseas?
I can't remember. I know I answered it in the comment section many times,
Right,
and I've
but
continued.
it's not within your terms. It's not on your. I mean, I know it isn't because I've checked it thoroughly. But at no
Okay.
stage does it state that the backer is responsible for any import taxations. The price quoted is you will get a drone for $125, or however much the price is with all the batteries and everything, and that's the price you will pay. Therefore, the
That's it.
consumer is expecting to get the drone for that price. Okay, that is where that particular clip ended. I am going to move straight into the next clip because it is directly related to it. I just want to say hi to Heisenberg7963. Thank you very much for your $5 super chat. That is actually a young man called Brody, who is my co-host and will be joining me in next week's show onwards. Hi there, brother. It's good to see you. Move on with the next clip. Okay.
Yeah, Sean, can I just I want to mention I really kind of want to get away from this sort of idea of there's horrible politician interviews where politicians.
One of my biggest issues is that some of your backers are going to pay more for their drone for backing you. Sorry about that. Than a retail customer.
That's unlikely. No, that's unlikely. A lot of the pricing we started with Indiegogo was significantly less than the retail price. So. Right. That was there's a big saving.
How much do you expect it to retail for?
So the retail price would be that's stated on the Indiegogo campaign, so you can check that.
But how much is that? You'll know your own retail price.
Off the top of my head,
so you don't know your retail price off the top of your head.
I don't need to. I don't want to get the wrong price and then say, hey, he's just said it differently from what it said. Let me just check because I'm not on Wikipedia.
I'm not sure it would expect you to be a Wikipedia to know your price of your product, though, Vernon.
To get it correct, it's on the website though. Yeah, it is whatever it's listed on as the retail price.
Okay, and what is that?
I can't see it at the moment.
So as you stand right now, you're sat there. You cannot tell me the retail price of your drone.
I can give me a couple minutes. I'll get the list price. Shall I? like I've got. You'll have to check it out after
Okay,
the.
so when I say to you that some backers are going to be paying more than retail, you can't answer that.
I can, yeah. Just go on. It's listed. We've listed it. Please check out the published prices because we've already listed those, and
Where is it
that's
listed?
public on our Indiegogo page.
Right. So why aren't you able to tell me it then?
I can't open the Indiegogo page while I'm on the video with you.
Right. Bear with me. I've got it open now. Okay, sadly, I couldn't find it myself. I did find later on there was a comparison on the Microdrone 4 that shows it retailing at 200 against other drones. However, my argument there still remains that people that bought that at 125, 165 are in danger of paying very close to, if not more than the retail price, and therefore not really getting any particular crowdfunder, Indiegogo type reward for backing the person from the beginning, which is really, of course, part of the whole parts of it there. So, okay, here is our next clip. There's just a few more. Okay.
Yeah, Sean. Can I just? I want to mention. I really kind of want to get away from this sort of idea of like, there's horrible politician interviews where politicians like the interviews like Newsnight where it's like, oh, how much is a cup of tea, or how much is a loaf of bread?
How much is a loaf of bread? But I would argue knowing the price of a loaf of bread is very different from knowing the price of your own product. That's all I would argue.
Well, the thing is, I can't remember like exactly. I mean, I didn't. It's fine asking me for like general like facts, but then like
that's not a
for
general
like
fact
things
for
that
the
are like
director of a company. I'm sorry, it isn't. If you ask the MD of Ford UK how much the base Ford Focus sells for, he will be able to tell you to the penny. 100%. And of course they have many products. You have one product which is going to retail. The problem is the accusation that comes out of that is that you have no intention of retailing it at a higher price.
No. The thing is, no, like the Indiegogo price is like listed in dollars, right? But every retail price around the world hasn't been set yet. Like the pounds, for example, hasn't been set because that needs to have VAT on it, and so I don't want to like say that off the top of my head with tax and duty.
Yeah.
Okay. In case
I understand.
Later. Oh no, he said it that video.
Okay, if I could just be a little bit of a referee in the chat there, if Ash and Vernon could please go to their separate corners. Vernon, Ash is only asking questions regarding the products. And I understand this is a stressful situation, but obviously some people feel they need answers to some of these questions. Now, to me, the retail price issue, I'm not sure exactly how much of a big problem that is, but again, when I'm talking about the snowball effect that I was talking about before, it is another thing. It's another issue that mounts up, that when you put them all together, it starts to look like a company which, in my personal opinion, only a personal opinion, is not being run as perhaps effectively as it could have been. And I'm not particularly surprised that they found themselves in a position of missing their deadlines. And that's really the nicest way I can put things from there. Let's enjoy the next clip. The drone that releases is going to have active track. So it'll be able to actively track people with it?
Yeah, that's the plan. Yeah. Okay. So far we expect to ship a couple of features with the drone when it ships, by the time it ships. So currently all the tracking is currently in development. Right. So we're developing all these tracking features, and that'll be one of the smallest drones to use such advanced tracking.
Will tracking be available on day one release?
Yeah, I think we'll have a couple of features finished by then.
So active track will work on day one release, because it sounds like you're leading to the point of that a lot of the features will be released over time.
Yeah, that's what I've said already. So this is currently in development. So right. This is a stretch goal.
Right? Active tracks, beyond 360 orbit, will they both be available at launch?
At the moment, yeah, I think at the moment we'll have 360 circle, and we'll have follow function finished by then.
That's the plan. And the sideways flying up to 30 miles an hour, are you expecting that to still be a feature of the drone?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Because that's one thing that excites me about the video when I watch it, because the type of video shots I take, that's the sort of thing, and it's such a small drone that would excite me a lot. Because 30 miles an hour, based on the difference between the prototype and the drone that we kind of have right now, because obviously there might be some more changes required, would you accept that they're two different products?
No, the current drone is an iteration of our earlier model.
Right.
And just, I mean, even like last week, like that's different from the product we had a few weeks before that, and a few weeks before that. So each iteration is just an adjustment and a change.
Okay, but you accept that having that video out there is misleading, so you're not going to have that video out there anymore.
Correct. Okay. Yeah, for sure. I mean, like,
you accept that some people feel misled. Whether you accept that they are misled or not, I know is a completely different thing. But you accept that people feel misled, but also you accept that people feel misled by the fact that you're quoted in the video as saying that you are production ready.
No, actually, I don't think that's accurate at all. You know, okay. Nobody was aiming to mislead anybody, and everything was
matter if they're aiming. At 3 minutes and 16 seconds, you state, with development complete and prototypes extensively tested, with your support, we are now ready to start production.
Yeah, hindsight's a great thing, right? So, you know, like looking back 9 months or a year, in fact, and saying, like, hey, was that correct?
Do you not accept that actually the point that you're almost at now, if this next pre-production run actually works and the drone flies perfectly with your adjustments, then actually that is the completed development. The fact that the drone failed means it hadn't completed its development.
What do you mean failed?
Production ready.
Quite a loaded comment. What do you mean by failed?
Well, the production failed. Your initial prototype moving into production, you had to remodel, therefore the production failed.
It didn't, like, the production didn't fail. What failed was the quality control.
Yes, production. And quality control is part of production.
And that needed revision. So the camera, the gimbal, the flight controller, and much of the structure, that's all the same, but it's just rejigged into a better
fit. But the production itself failed. You have to see that. You have to accept that the production failed.
Well, I mean, I don't like using the word failed because it's such a loaded comment, but I think
it's accurate. It's an accurate word, unfortunately, just in my opinion, but we'll agree to disagree on that one. Okay, thank you all for bearing with us with this important subject. Really, the idea behind the follow-up interview was, those of you who've seen the original interview, it's a nice interview. It's a good. I was okay with it, but I came out of there, and that interview was actually came about due to a lot of backers approaching myself and others concerned that they weren't getting answers. When I finished that first interview, I published it, put it out there. As I say, I was happy with it. But I do feel like I let some of the backers down with not tying down some of the questions. So hence, I wanted this follow-up, and I wanted to dedicate the first part, or what actually will now become the majority part of this stream, to it. And I hope backers that are watching this live and that are watching this on the replay, there is no magic wand I can wave, but I hope we are getting closer to some of the answers that I certainly believe we deserve. Just a couple more clips left, and we'll start the next one. In your updates, you sign off as the team at Extreme Flyers. Who is Ethan? What does he do for you?
Ethan is my wife. You know.
Right. And what does she do for the company?
She's operations director. So she's
love the name, it's a fantastic name. She's
a really amazing person, and helps ensure that everything is like really running smoothly. You know, making sure that everyone is paid on time, that production on schedule, yes. That we've got supplies in the office, and we've got print spools for my 3D printer.
Is Jason a full-time employee of Extreme Flyers?
Yeah, he works full time.
Brilliant. It's exciting to have someone out there in China doing that. So he is a salaried employee of Extreme Flyers.
Yes.
Okay. Who's Avatar?
Avatar is our marketing guy, and he's and anything that we need to do, like digital marketing, all of like videos, and you want to put out a video or an update.
And again, he's a full-time employee of Extreme Flyers.
Yeah, and
Josh.
Josh, yeah. So he actually joined us last year, and he did a year with us, and he was a sort of I guess he was like an intern.
Okay, has he left now?
He has, yeah. But he's still involved with us though. He still does things from time to time.
Who's Scott?
Scott is our so he's involved with the product development. So he does a lot of consulting with all of the different things we develop. So he'll test out a bunch of different things. He'll test stuff, and he'll work with me on various projects. We'll do Scrum and development.
And again, he's a UK salaried full-time employee of the Extreme Flyers.
He's actually based in Paris, so he works remotely, and we also do a lot of events together as well. So
he's a full-time employee of Extreme Flyers.
He does like like this is his main thing, and he does a whole bunch of other things as well.
Is he? He works as a consultant to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
yeah.
And Chris, what does Chris do?
Chris is also a consultant, so works with.
And is that the same for Lydia?
So Lydia actually also works with customers. She's in customer service, and last year she worked here in the office, and she's moved to Italy now. Because she's originally from Italy,
right.
And she lives in Italy now, and but still is in charge of customer service. So anytime you contact our team, you'll always hear from Lydia in Italy.
Is she working as consultant now that she's back in Italy, or is she still a full-time employee?
Well, she works as customer service, so I tend to work with people on not necessarily full time or part time. So it varies with what's happening. So if we need more work, more help, then we'll we like to keep things lean.
So the direct employees you were talking about before in the last video, the 10 people that work for you, who are they, and what types of jobs do they do?
Engineering. We have firmware development. We have structural design. PCB design. We'll have specialist 3D modeling.
These are full-time in-house roles.
So some are full-time, some are part-time. Depending on some will be contract or project-based.
Okay.
It depends on what's needed at the time. So really flexibility is really important when you're having when you run a small startup, and that's very much the case for us.
Yes. Okay. Well, thank you very much, and good luck with things. I'll send you an email so you can fire the raw footage across, because I think that will answer some questions as well. And
who's asking for it, and why do they want it?
Basically, it's backers. I've had it from several backers. I've got a line of communication open with, obviously, the ones that are talking to me are the people that aren't happy, of course. And those backers, that a very common request that's coming through is we'd like to see the raw footage. So hence the request is coming back through to you. Which again, I don't see an issue with them having that. It silences another line.
Yeah, I can see one issue. One is like the footage has been color graded, like the original footage has been color graded, and that's a process that all video editors do.
Of course.
Because we had a whole bunch of footage from lots of different, with the guys flying the drone, with the girls holding the drone, and those were shot with different cameras.
Absolutely. I think it's more the analysis of the actual the data behind the picture rather than actually what it looks like. I don't think anyone's expecting it to look any
I'm happy to
particular way.
that raw file, but I don't want those people saying like, oh look, the color's different from the footage, and then
Yes.
starting using that.
Yeah. Okay, now to be fair to Vernon, he did send this, as I said before and I've shown before, he did send this particular clip through. However, this is the only clip we have. The test footage, which is the most controversial, which was in the Indiegogo update recently, that has not been forthcoming. The footage he sent me today is irrelevant because I can't play that to anybody. Now, one of my issues with the last clips I just played you, and that is the clips from the interview played, thank you people, is that when Vernon signs his updates, he signs it with 6 or 7 names at the bottom, obviously the team at Extreme Flyers. My issue with that is that one of those people has gone back to Italy. Several of those people are consultants, and that's fine. I work as a consultant for people, and I like to think I add value to those companies. But the third name, the fourth name, either the third or fourth name, is an intern who worked for the company for a year and is no longer there. And Vernon is, within days ago, is still signing an update with those people. So again, in my opinion, we need to start looking at the snowball effect here, and we really need to start seeing some answers coming through and some accountability. Again, for those who need it, the Extreme Flyers company name is actually Extreme Toys Limited. That is actually Vernon has confirmed that is actually the legal entity behind Extreme Flyers, and himself and Ethan, his wife, are the co-directors and founders of that business. So, to the backers in the chat, I hope this has at least provided some more information. It does nothing to help your situation. I'm very sorry. I really appreciate every single one of you placing your comments in the chat. Gary, I'm going to try and pronounce your surname. Gary Diaquino. Let me know if I murdered that. But he's saying that hopefully Otto will make an Otto Eco Mini at 249 grams of 4K. That would certainly be a game changer, wouldn't it? It would be fantastic to see it. A bird in the hand. You have to forgive me, I've forgotten your actual name. I have known it in the past. He said it's actually like trying to get an answer from NASA. However, if you look at one of my previous videos, which is an interview with Pascal Lee, who is the director of the Horton Mars project, it was actually significantly easier getting answers there. Now, again, I would ask Vernon, you're in the chat, you need to step forward. You need to start getting this project to conclusion. If you cannot deliver, if you've got yourself in over your head, if there is an issue, you need to also come forward and talk about that as well. Some projects have failed in the past. Some projects have not failed, but have limped across the line with a final product that isn't quite what people were hoping for. That is a very different situation to what we have here. We have a situation here where you are evasive with answers to the point where you don't know your retail price. You're unable to very quickly answer and confirm who does and doesn't work for you. And still you haven't confirmed who these 10 people plus are that work for your company on a full-time basis, which you confirm does happen in the first interview. All of this starts to lead me to a personal opinion that there is something very wrong at Extreme Flyers. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that an amazing little drone ends up getting delivered to all those backers. And, well, frankly, I hope a drone ends up getting delivered to those backers. Now, Vernon, there's another challenge here for you. In our first interview, we discussed the issue of people that want to get out. I understand you don't want to provide refunds. Although, again, I state it on the record again, if you're confident with your product, if you say that the amount of people who are unhappy are an absolute minority, provide the refunds and carry on with the vast majority of people that you say are happy with the project and are willing to back you to the end. But I would ask you to put in writing very, very soon. You were discussing having some kind of option where people don't have to have their drone delivered, and you will sell that drone to the first retail customers. Again, if we're talking, even if we're talking a 1,000, you should be able to, if you are talking to large retail outlets, you should be able to shift that many units to those people very quickly, give these people their refunds and move on. Now, I don't know if there's a chap, sorry to call you chap, what a British thing to do. Hello, chap. I have had messages from a couple of the backers. I can't see his icon anymore, so I don't think he's here. But a chap called Gary, who actually has managed to get a chargeback refund from his credit card company. So again, that might be an answer that some of the backers need to start looking into. Also, whilst I was playing out the clips there, we very kindly had a couple of super chats, which apologies for missing them. But I'm obviously very new to the live stream. But Paul Murray, thank you very much. And thank you very much for your kind words. Paul Murray has his own live streams, actually, so I'd suggest you head over and take a look at that. But more so, Paul actually has some fascinating videos. He tracks the ships of Michigan, and he goes down with his various drones. He is rather addicted to buying new drones, he would admit himself, and he takes some fantastic footage of some amazing container ships, etc., coming through his area. They are absolutely fantastic videos. I'm addicted, and I would very much ask you there. David Whittle, unknown price, long delays, strange company names, custom taxes, poor quality, no sight of the finished product, a real worry, sad. And unfortunately, this is what I've been trying to explain to Vernon, that the snowball effect. Every single issue that I raised with him had a sort of oopsie type situation. He wasn't willing to step forward and just say, that's wrong. Even with when I brought up to him today the legality of his website, he saw it as a minor issue. He said, we might get £1,000 fine for that. Who cares? Move on. But he doesn't seem to see that actually people don't look at one particular item. There is the, I keep saying snowball effect. It's almost as if this stream is being sponsored by Snowball Effect, but it isn't. Johans, again, I think I'm killing some people's names here. I apologise. At Vernon, breakthrough features. It may be a breakthrough for you. For me, it's just an overpriced toy I'm tricked into buying. And again, this is a real disconnect that Vernon seems to have in the interview with the issues that I'm raising. He talks about the fact that the 5 megapixel was in the blurb. And this is obviously in the blurb of the website. But at the top of that page, the thing which attracts most buyers, which is why people with these campaigns make a flashy video, is the flashy video. And in that video, it mentions 12 megapixel camera. It also mentions that the sensor will be Sony, along with many other flight time, many other issues. We're not just picking on this drone because one thing has changed. Many things have. Now, yes, Vernon, you've already moved to update the website. Unfortunately, you've only confirming that after our discussion today, and the website has been illegal for a much longer period. But as you know, there's a Companies House complaint in about that, which you're already dealing with, and hopefully doesn't get added to. Captain Unknown, third time, why is the footage from the MD 2.0 so much better than your 4th generation drone? I'm sorry that I've missed that in the chat, Captain Unknown. It's great to see you. Yes, Vernon, you're in the chat. Please feel free to answer that. And if you go through the chat after this, Vernon, I appeal to you, go through the chat, look at these names. You'll recognise them as genuine backers. You're saying in your video, nobody has been misled. Unfortunately, they have. They're in the chat here. They're live in front of you. These people are telling you they have been misled by your marketing. They have brought a product that they would have been very happy with, which of course they would have been, because some still maintain that it would have been very difficult to produce that price point. And one of the things which sticks for me from both interviews is the talk of prototype to product, and the fact that we talk about these prototype drones with the finest materials within them. And of course that was creating some fantastic footage, such as this footage here. And then we talk about the issues that it had, the failure of production to be able to produce that drone on a mass production basis, and that is something you have to start standing up and having accountability for at the moment, because there are a growing number of backers who are looking to you to complete this project. So Vernon, we're going to revisit this subject. I feel a duty of care now towards the backers, certainly the backers who aren't happy about this. I've staked my channel name on this now, from the point of view that I greatly appreciate everybody that has watched my coverage of this particular issue, and we will be keeping on you, so we will stay in touch. Vernon's answer there is the 2.0 footage is not better than the 4.0. And it has a 2-axis mechanical gimbal and a 1080p camera. Well, my only issue is really that we don't have anything really that we can show. I've seen some footage, but you won't let me show that. The recent test video is all your backers have to go on. You just sitting there saying it's going to be much better isn't actually making it so. So therefore, Captain Unknown that raised the query, to him it is better because he can see the 2.0 footage, whereas the 4.0 footage with the test is just, as you have said yourself, is not very good. And you've been informed just how many people have told you should never have posted that, which I have to say I do agree with for the sake of your company, if nothing else. Okay. And Vernon, whilst you're in the chat and answering, will you answer Jason, who is asking to show the backers the prototype? You're simply refusing, and backers are entitled to this information. So if you could please answer that, I would appreciate it. Tell the audience what you think about the footage I sent and compared to the last test. Okay, Vernon, no more games. Allow me to, I with one button press on my lovely little Elgato Stream Deck, I recommend everyone that's live streaming gets one, by the way, although this is not sponsored by Elgato. But if Elgato, if you're listening, come find me. But if you want me to talk about that footage, I have told you, my view on that footage is null and void until I can show my audience. If I can't show my audience the footage, it doesn't exist. Because if you can't show the audience, then unfortunately there must be a reason behind that. You've informed me that perhaps the location isn't the best in the world. People don't care about that. So yeah, hi again, Mike Drennan. Yeah, better yet, just show it. Unfortunately, legally, my hands are tied on that point of view. Ash, you know an awful lot better. There is also there is somebody else in that video that privacy-wise, I would have an issue showing until I got their clearance, which I did. I believed it was a misunderstanding apparently, but I believed I did actually have permission to show you both clips. But again, the test footage, which was the original request in this interview, let's not muddy the lines. The test footage has not been forthcoming. And Ben Foong is asking, what does the footage contain that you don't want to show? Is there a naked person on there? No, it is purely a legal issue. Vernon sent me the clip, asked me to view it, asked me to comment in this stream whether or not I think it's better quality. But unfortunately, I refuse to do that when I'm not able to show my audience the footage. Vernon, I will answer. It's better quality than the earlier test, but still being improved. So Vernon, final answer for the evening. Will you let me show the footage now? I can press the button. It's not a problem at all. I'll give you a few seconds to come back to me at that. Gary, yes, I've seen you place that a couple of times in the chat, that at 53 seconds the promotional video clearly says 12 megapixel sensor. It does. It says 12 megapixel Sony sensor. Andy Elsmeged, hi, I hope you're well. I know, Andy, as with many people in this country, we're all starting to get used to the new reality that we're faced out there. So I hope you're doing okay, Andy, over there, and I hope your regular drone meetups can still happen, even with all of the social distancing that's going on there. Yes, so there we go. So I'm yet to see a response from Vernon as to whether I can actually play this out now. So I suppose we will have to wait for that. Captain Unknown, unfortunately, your link hasn't worked. I have approved it to be seen in the chat. I think it's only bringing the back end of it in. Could you let us know what it is? Is that footage of the 2.0 that you were talking about? Jason Burton, you are evasive, Burton, in too many ways. Stand up and be accountable as a CEO. You have misled backers from campaign launch and now refuse to open an honest discussion with those who invested. Now, one thing I would say is Vernon has been very kind, as in he has attended 2 different interviews. He knew the second one wasn't going to be as pleasant as the first. Again, I don't really know what we've learned since the beginning of the second interview, apart from we have got him on record talking about the fact that he understands people have been misled by this campaign. There is also a discussion in the full interview, which you'll all be able to see when that's released, regarding the Indiegogo campaign, and asking Vernon what contact he has had from Indiegogo regarding the several complaints that have been put to them, in which he informs us that unless they're extraordinary, Indiegogo deal with the complaints and simply will give you a standard answer back off their records as it's such. Okay, sorry, Captain. I know it doesn't let you post the entire link, hence the second half. What was that footage of the 2.0? Ben Foong, I'd say to backers, contact UK Trading Standards. Well, I have to say that this project is concerning me. After the first interview, I was left with a general concern and really general confusion as to whether or not there was malice behind Vernon. He's a nice chap. He comes across very well. He's an intelligent guy. He's easy to talk to. But the second interview has left me in less doubt. Unfortunately, I do think with the snowball effect here it is again, snowball effect. I do think that there is a snowball effect in the terms of there are so many things that are happening and so many issues surrounding this particular product that you just have to start wondering what is actually happening behind the scenes there. Vernon Kerswell, in brief, it is much better. I shot a quick clip for Sean to check. Let me just catch that before it goes up. So he could compare the original footage with the current footage to confirm it is the same. Yes, but again, I can't confirm that because you won't allow me to show the footage. So again, the footage doesn't exist. Ash, if you're still in the chat, which I think you are, would you mind just cutting and pasting that watch link from Captain Unknown and putting the correct YouTube bit at the beginning and see if it works, and reposting it? I'd really appreciate that. So there we have it. There we have the final parts of the interview. As I say, the full interview will be online. Unfortunately, Captain Unknown, we're not getting an answer as to why he won't allow it, or indeed permission to show it. I don't want to harass the guy too much. If he won't allow it, he won't allow it. But again, we won't discuss it if it's not allowed to be shown to my audience. Gary has just finished eating my garlic fried with 2 eggs whilst watching this awesome live stream. Oh, thank you, Gary. Even though I did completely butcher your surname, but I really appreciate that. Ben Foong, he believes he's hiding something. Vernon Kerswell, we plan to have 2 AI tracking features finished for when the unit's shipped. So you plan. Again, this is the language, Vernon. This is the issue, and almost where I feel that you should perhaps take a step back sometimes and seek some public relations advice, because we plan to have 2 AI tracking features finished for the first unit shipped. That to me isn't good enough for a product which is this late and has been in development for this long, and in your own promotional video, which remains your active promotion video right now, you state that development is complete, that the prototypes have been extensively tested, and with your backing, we are ready for production. I do not then expect, when the drone is this late, for you to be placing comments in the chat to say you plan to have 2 AI tracking features finished for when the first unit shipped. That isn't saying it will be done. Thank you to Ash and for Desmond. Hi, Desmond, by the way. I didn't say hello to one of my own moderators, for putting that link in there. which I believe is the MD 2.0 video that Captain Unknown has been talking to. Yes, so there we have it. So hi Brian Forward, nice to see you. Brian is one of the regulars on the channel. Really great that you've found the time to pop in. I really appreciate it. Droning on, Ash, Vernon should never be fronting this company. He's oversensitive, he has no empathy for customers, and is evasive when questioned. If this company wishes to continue, it needs professional PR services. Exactly as I was just saying, Ash, I completely agree with you. I think there becomes a point where the issue becomes bigger, and you need to be able to take a step back and really accept what is happening. Jason Burton, has the drone received CE, FCC certification, etc.? That's a very good question, Jason. I apologise that I didn't ask that in the interview. Vernon, are you able to comment on that very quickly? Has the Microdrone 4.0 received CE and FCC certification ahead of its launch? I'd be very, very happy to hear that. Okay. Apologies for that. Okay, now I'm going to give the chat just another minute or two, and then we're going to move on to the next story for us UK flyers, which is the EASA update and discussion. Gary has started the hashtag snowball effect. I fear that one might come back to haunt me at some point. Yes. So as we stand, I would honestly and genuinely like to thank Vernon, despite all of the non-answers, the evasive tactics. I would like to thank him for attending both interviews and for being in the chat tonight. I really do appreciate it. It is some form of accountability, I suppose. But now we need to start seeing some real accountability. We have actually asked if Vernon would be willing to release documentation regarding the previous production failures. So to actually release documentation from the factory regarding the original prototype failing, why it failed, that type of thing. So we'll wait till we hear from that point of view as well. Now, does anybody have any other questions? I'm seeing something here from Johan that is a clear. I'm just trying to find your original question there, sir. Oh, yes, Vernon, can you please give Sean the go for the video? Thank you, Johan. Yes, perhaps not. Okay, so if that's everything, unless Vernon has any final comments he'd like to place in the chat, and please, we don't necessarily need to see another advertising campaign for the drone. We've had enough of those. If you want to give any more answers to people in the chat, please continue doing that. Drone and Sundry. Hello, sir. How are you? Yes, I actually only realised Drone and Sundry, they have a fantastic, so many of you will know this, US News have a fantastic live stream that I'm actually normally hooked to myself this evening. I actually only remembered after I decided on Tuesday night that you guys are out at start just before us, but yes, apologies for that. But thank you very much for hopping over. I really appreciate it. It's really great to see you. Okay, I will allow the chat to continue. If anything comes up in particular there that I need to jump across to, I will come back to this subject matter. But for now, I'm just going to move on to our next subject matter, which is EASA and how this is going to be affecting the UK. Now, there's obviously quite a lot of us in the chat who are British flyers. Say hello if you're a UK flyer in the chat. Ash, that doesn't include you because you deserted us to Sweden. The wonderful Sweden, but still you deserted us. Now, EASA, we're aware that Grant Shapps had his now infamous interview, and basically in which he dropped a little bit of a bombshell that we are going to be, as a country, the UK, the government are going to be leaving EASA as the member state at the end of 2020. Now, this is whilst we are all busy getting ready for the 1st of July 2020 with the new EASA regulations coming in, which are really partially behind us having our drone registration scheme. It was going to be the end of the PFCO. It was going to be a big issue. However, Grant Shapps has now dropped this bombshell. We've been informed ourselves by the CAA and by others that we take advice from on this type of thing, that the regulations will still come into force on the 1st of July 2020, and the exams for the A2CFC, the GVC, etc., will all still continue to go ahead, and those certificates will be valid beyond the end of the year within the UK. So I'm hopeful that we're going to see something through here. I think what we need to remember with this is, in actual fact, Drone and Sundry, you're still here, yes. It was in Drone and Sundry's, one of their live streams, where they discussed this, which struck home to me. A lot of what we hear, a lot of the information we get is from the drone training companies, and we need to remember that these are conversations they're having with the CAA. These things aren't actually documented by the CAA. We are in a very unique situation here. It's important to stress that this is Brexit, and as such, the situation is unprecedented. However, the negotiations or which regulation we're going to be under are not yet known. The CAA will not confirm a lot of what is being reported out there in writing, because it is opinion, educated opinion, but it's still opinion. So we do need to be careful of that. Drone and Sundry, thank you for the information, mentioning that there is a document about to drop from the CAA. Watch out for lights and new RID. That's very interesting. Everybody who doesn't know Drone and Sundry, please get over there and subscribe, and be ready for their updates on that. Their panel includes XJet amongst others, and how they don't have 1,000 viewers every week on that particular one, I have no idea. So really, as far as things are happening for us in the UK, things are not going to be changing an awful lot in the short term. We also, I suppose, have to give the government enough time to be able to negotiate what's going to happen. But I would say very kindly, people like Desmond Donders, who's one of my moderators, very kindly, and Brian Forward, very kindly, say very kindly once more, very kindly, forwarded me links to CAA notices about the EASA, etc. And that's really the information that I would absolutely bank on, and just try and remember that others have vested interests in things going certain ways, and lobbyists, etc. So try to bear in mind that as it stands, we will still be in EASA when these regulations come in the 1st of July. So we will have to follow those. But what happens beyond December is less known at this stage. Okay, any questions in the chat regarding EASA? I'm aware that the last subject did produce a lot of questions, etc. If not, we will move on to our final subject matter. If I press my buttons correctly there. Again, I want to thank everybody for joining us for our first live stream. I really, really appreciate it. Jason Burton, thanks for doing this interview. Sean, appreciate it. Jason, I thank you, and I thank all the backers. You have given me a sense of responsibility across the channel on this particular story, and it is not one that I will be letting go of particularly quickly. Now, moving on to something a little bit more fun. The new there you go. I was about to say it myself. The new DJI drone. The new photos of the leaked DJI drone. I did a video on this a week ago, and I just wanted to put it at the end here just to show the pictures to anybody that hasn't seen them. We have a very strange looking controller. I didn't flip that photo over for some reason. Only one thing I would personally mention on that controller is that it does have a tripod mode, which obviously under EASA regulations, they're going to have that. I believe you actually have to have that button on the controller ongoing. So whether that's to do with that or not, we don't know. But of course, these photos could be from 5 years ago. And the drone itself, obviously looking larger than a Mavic Mini, LED light at the bottom, and the sensors, etc. It's hard to judge how big that person's hands are. That's what she said. As to exactly how big it is, but it does seem to be the grey of the Mavic Mini and the more recent releases. And there's a clearer shot from the bottom of it. Now, I know it has Mavic written on it, etc. And It's a very dirty drone already. It's very scuffed up. But it to me, I have issues with it, and I wonder how genuine these photos are, as far as whether this is even close to something that we're going to be seeing. But again, I am very famously the person that didn't think the Mavic Mini photos were real when they came out. So I'm being very careful not to discount it completely. But yes, Ash, I agree with you that the controller is just terrific, isn't it? I actually wondered if the controller, and others that have more experience with DJI will know this better than me, whether that could actually be a test bed, whether that could, rather than being a specific controller for this drone, is that possibly a controller that will lock onto a specific one they've made within their factory that will lock onto any drone for their test people to be able to use? Because it does look very odd in terms of being a final shape and size. Although I would say I've had a few of the viewers on my previous video on this does actually talk about the fact that the controller is bigger for their hands and their posture, and actually they would appreciate the controller being that size. So horses for courses, I suppose, in that point of view. And there we have it. Those are the stories for this evening. So any final questions? And Brian Ford, haven't seen a cup of coffee appear on your desk yet. I do have a glass of water, which I haven't actually drunk from this evening. There you go. It's real water. I really appreciate everybody popping along and seeing us tonight, and very much appreciate all of the kindness everybody's shown me on the channel as we've been growing this past year. I'm very happy that we've now managed to come to a situation where we are online, and a year later we're now starting our live streams, so hopefully you'll join us on this particular journey. Our future live streams, I promise, won't be so interview heavy, but that was a particular subject which, as I say, I felt like a real focus to perform for those particular people. Vernon Kerswell, check out the controller for Microdrone 4.0 versus this controller. We have a very beautiful design that fits in the palm of your hand, very ergonomic. Been saying for a long time that it's better to have the smartphone mounted above the controller. Okay, thank you for that interaction. And Gary is asking, Ash, by any chance will you be reviewing the MT4 when it's someday available? That's a video I'm willing to watch whilst eating prime rib with garlic bread. Now, I see Ash says not a chance. I informed Vernon a year ago I'd never review one of his products ever again. How much, Ash? We would perhaps all club together and buy you one once we know a retail price, that is. Okay, excellent. Well, thank you very much for everybody for joining us. I'm going to end the stream there. It's been absolutely fantastic, and I really appreciate you all popping in to see us. Drone and Sundry. Yes, it is getting on for the witching hour here as well, so it is time that we all snuck off into our beds. Now I've actually forgotten to have the outro, so I'm gonna have to play the intro again for you. But there we go. Thank you very much for joining us. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for all the super chats and super stickers. I really appreciate you all being here, and I will see you next time. There you go. A bit of comedy as I delete this stream starting soon.